A shocking piece of news for the Epstein alliance is spreading rapidly today, supported by a set of evidence. This news talks about the secret disappearance of Netanyahu and him being directly injured in an Iranian strike on Tel Aviv. And there are Spanish demands calling for withdrawal from NATO after this war on Iran, calling for organizing a public referendum to decide Spain's withdrawal from NATO. Meanwhile, President Trump is paving the way today to announce a fake victory over Iran, using it as a pretext to withdraw and to stop this war. All these details and more are coming up after the break. Stay with us. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. Welcome to our new episode today, God willing, in this series of opinion episodes which we always dedicate to keep up with the latest developments in this war taking place in the Middle East between Iran and the Epstein alliance or coalition. Today, dear viewers, the first thing we will address is this strange statement made last night by President Trump, in which he said that the war against Iran is largely over. How did it end? Why is Trump saying this while the war is still ongoing? Why is Trump saying this? And the goals of this war for the Epstein alliance have not been achieved at all. So it's clear, dear viewers, that America has reached a level of incapacity. It has reached a point where it can no longer continue this war. Why? Because it has become pointless. It has turned into just a war where America is draining its military strength against an opponent that isn't even real for America. Pay close attention, we're talking about an uneven battle. On one side, we have a strong power that rules the world and is considered the #1 global power. On the other side, we have a party from the global south, which can be seen as a side trying to rise up and become a regional power in the area. So when America gets involved in such conflicts to change the regime in these countries, it always sets a main condition. The operation must be guaranteed, with 100% success in a swift strike and with the least possible losses. Any violation of these conditions will cause America to fall into a trap or into a quagmire similar to the Vietnam quagmire, the Afghanistan quagmire, and so on. So today, when America failed to topple the Iranian regime within the first 4 days, everything was over. That's it. America is unable to fight a long war of attrition with a party that is not equal in power. This means that America is only depleting its own military capabilities, and as a result, it is only achieving the goals that Russia and China want. The longer the war goes on, the deeper it gets into a quagmire similar to Afghanistan, and maybe even worse than that. I mean, when it fought a fierce war in Afghanistan for 20 years to overthrow the Taliban, in the end, it ended up replacing the Taliban with the Taliban. So today, America has reached a point where airstrikes are no longer effective at all, because we're not talking about a microstate. Iran is a vast country full of deserts and high mountains, and it has a population of over 90 million people spread all over the country. That's why it has reached this level. That means without a ground military intervention, it's impossible to achieve any of the American objectives at all, and a ground war against Iran is impossible for the American army. It would be a graveyard for the American army. When America came to invade Iraq in 2003, the Iraqi army only had 200,000 soldiers, and Iraq didn't have any weapons. I mean deterrent weapons, and Iraq didn't have weapons, medicine, or even food. The Iraqi system was originally easy to penetrate, which led to betrayals at the level of generals and so on. And at that time, Russia was also experiencing one of its weakest periods ever. I mean, it was living through one of its weakest phases ever. There wasn't yet anyone like the Chinese dragon, I mean, with that kind of power. And let's not forget, there was also ground support for the Kurds. The conditions were easy. They were favorable for America to enter this ground war in Iraq. But when we talk about Iran, none of these conditions, without exception, are available to it. The Iranian army is a 1 million strong army. We're talking about 1 million soldiers in the army, 500,000 more in the Guard, and another 10 million in the Basij forces. So to confront this massive Iranian force, America needs to mobilize at least, 1 million soldiers, at the very least 1 million troops. America thought it could mobilize this number of forces. If countries in the region were drawn into this war, meaning if a force was formed that included Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, the Kurds, maybe even Turkmenistan, and so on, but the plan didn't succeed, and it turned out that each of these countries was aware of the danger of getting involved in this conflict against Iran. Also, it was clear that there was another option on Trump's table, which was to send an American force to take control of just a small Iranian island in the Gulf. Its area is about 20 square kilometers and it is called an island. Karg Island, 90% of Iranian oil exports pass through it. The idea was to occupy this island and deprive Iran of any source of income until it surrendered. But it turned out that practically it was impossible for this operation to succeed. The island is very small and it's only about 25 kilometers away from the Iranian coast. Any landing of American forces on it would leave those forces surrounded and make them easy targets for missiles, drones, and artillery, which would lead to a disaster for those American forces. Also, there was a proposal on the table to deploy American special forces, which are currently stationed in a number of countries in the region, in Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Kurdistan, Iraq, and the UAE as well. That means, in order to carry out airborne operations on vital sites inside Iran, such as the headquarters of Iranian television, command centers, the parliament, and so on. But it turned out that Iran is prepared for this scenario. The Basij forces are deployed, and as I said, their numbers exceed 10 million armed personnel. The success of such operations is impossible because Iran was prepared. In fact, the US has truly reached a stage of helplessness today, to the point that they no longer even talk about toppling the regime. Just a few days ago, Trump was saying that Iran's surrender is the only condition to stop this war, but just yesterday, the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said that the goal of such a war is to destroy Iran's military capabilities, including missile launch platforms, military factories, naval forces, and so on. He didn't mention anything at all about overthrowing, nor did he mention at all the goal that was the reason for the start of this war, which is to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. So even this condition is no longer on the table today. Even when the Chief of Staff of the US Army comes out, just today he came out and reviewed the achievements of the US Army in this war. What did he say? He talked about how Iran was launching a certain number of missiles on the first day, and today it's only launching a few. As if he considers this an achievement, a victory for America, as if he doesn't know that war is about plans and strategies, and war isn't measured by numbers or quantity. So there is a very big frustration, suffering from the Trump administration, and there is confusion, and there is a big dilemma. Therefore, when Trump says that the war on Iran is largely over, maybe it's a strong indication that America will soon declare a fake victory over Iran to end this war, and then withdraw from the region. It's clear that everything America is doing today is studying how it can get out of this war in a way that isn't humiliating and without a clear defeat. That means preparations for this are underway today. Today, Trump talked about something completely different. He said that if America had delayed this attack by just 3 days, Iran would have attacked America. So pay close attention. Now the focus is being shifted maybe towards other objectives for this war, so they can fabricate an imaginary victory when they withdraw from the war, just to say that these objectives were achieved and then they withdraw. This war, it didn't even receive support today from within the United States. which means Trump is in a big predicament today. The percentage of Americans who support this American military intervention is no more than about 23% of Americans. According to today's opinion polls, there are lessons that truly need to be learned from this war. Speaking of that, Iran has given a number of lessons, many lessons to all the countries of the world, including, or the most important of these lessons were for the Arab countries. Accordingly, the most important lesson that everyone should take into consideration today: without underground infrastructure, resilience is not possible. All the weapons you have are exposed. They're an easy target for destruction. Everything above ground, equipment, weapons, warehouses, and so on. The Epstein alliance knows its location and will destroy it in the first 2 hours of the war. Daily demonstration using this power and using artificial intelligence. So today, it turns out that what Iran is hiding underground is not just ballistic missiles and not just nuclear facilities. The thing everyone needs to know today is that Iran has, in every military airport and every military base, underground infrastructure where it hides aircraft, tanks, vehicles, and ammunition. Even its air defense systems are hidden underground. It doesn't use all the systems it has. So pay close attention to the way this war is being managed. They deploy a certain number of these radars and defense systems, and when they're destroyed, the enemy thinks that's it, they're finished, but then other systems are brought in. And in this way, they ensure a kind of continuous protection for the airspace throughout the war, even if it lasts for many long months. That's why today, the warplanes of this Epstein alliance are probably spending the whole day flying over Iran, searching for a specific military target to strike. In the end, they only find 3 or 4 targets each day. And as we've seen, these might just be decoy targets, camouflaged and drawn on the ground. So Trump comes out and says that all the defense systems have been destroyed, only to be surprised that they're still there. Then he says he destroyed all the Iranian naval ships, but finds that these ships are still there. And so Iran has prepared well for a long-term war of attrition, and this preparation has been going on for decades, not just today. And this is an important lesson that should be learned from Iran and from this war. There are also other important lessons that should be learned from Iran, meaning from the way this war is being managed. For example, last night the Iranian Revolutionary Guard announced that any Arab or European country that expels American and Israeli ambassadors from its territory will benefit from the right to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So this shows us how Iran is using a very sensitive geopolitical card to put pressure on countries, meaning that it is sending a message that anyone who stands with Iran, anyone who stands with us, will get this privilege. The message is originally directed to whom? It is mainly directed to the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. If you want to trade safely through the Strait of Hormuz, if you want to sell your oil and gas, then break your ties with the Epstein alliance. This means it's very simple. Do something that shows you stand with Iran against this aggression and it will happen. And it's also a message that control over the Strait of Hormuz is still in Iran's hands. It's proof that the message is America is powerless. It can't even send a single warship to the region today, meaning to the Strait of Hormuz. As soon as it gets close, it will find itself sinking under a barrage of missiles. With each passing day, Iran proves the reality of its resilience and strong steadfastness in this battle, which is leading today to major changes in all regions of the world. Today, for example, the Spanish party Podemos sparked widespread controversy in Spain because it proposed holding a public referendum on whether Spain should remain in NATO, and called for its withdrawal from the alliance. The party defended Iran against this aggression, called for the closure of all American military bases on Spanish soil, and demanded a public referendum. so that the people are the ones who decide whether Spain will remain in NATO or withdraw from it. There is no smoke without fire. Here we point out that the last public referendum in Spain was about this withdrawal from NATO. It was in 1986, and the turnout at that time was only 59% of the citizens. The result was that 56% of the votes were in favor of Spain remaining in this alliance. 56%. We're talking about the year 1986 today. Everything has changed. If this referendum were actually held again, the results would be completely different, given the great awareness that the Spanish people now have, the awareness of the dangers of remaining in this alliance. With all these tensions the world is witnessing, the world is changing very quickly today. There is shocking news for Israel. There are strong rumors. If confirmed, they would have a decisive impact on this war. These rumors talk about the death or injury of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu by one of the Iranian missiles. As of today, this news is unconfirmed and we do not know its accuracy. But there is evidence that might suggest Israel is indeed hiding something about Netanyahu's fate. There are about 3 pieces of evidence. The first piece of evidence is Netanyahu's disappearance from the media for about 3 days. His last video appearance was 3 days ago, and his last photo appearance was 4 days ago. This raises questions about his absence, especially since the beginning of this war, he used to appear in at least 3 videos every day. For the past 3 days, Netanyahu's statements have been limited to written text only, like posts and statements and so on, not appearances. This raises a question. The second piece of evidence is also that a number of Hebrew newspapers have pointed out that there has been a security cordon around Netanyahu's residence in recent days. The third piece of evidence is also the postponement of the visit that was expected yesterday by Steve Witkoff, along with Trump's son-in-law Kushner, to Israel. There was a visit that was cancelled without any reason. Today, it is said that the reason for cancelling this visit is a serious security incident involving Netanyahu. All of these are pieces of evidence that may confirm this. But up until now, there is no official confirmation, and there won't be any official confirmation until the end of this war. That means Israel won't be able to announce it. I think for now, these are just speculations that need an official statement, because Netanyahu's disappearance might just be a security precaution. His appearance could provide open-source intelligence to Iran that could lead to his assassination by a missile or a suicide drone. Especially since the Iranian Revolutionary Guard had already indicated last week that they did indeed target Netanyahu's office. The important thing is that Israel is hiding something today. And what's important is that this war will definitely have consequences and big surprises. We'll see exactly where it's headed. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings. See you next time.